Hi everyone and welcome to another Here's of the Grid video. Today, to close out the month of October Monster Mash I've got going, I'm going to end with my favorite villain in the Power Ranger series, being someone who grew up with the originals. It's going to be Lord Zedd. I know he may not be everybody's favorite villain, but I mean honestly I still think Zedd is the best designed, at the very least, American exclusive villain in Power Rangers. Of all the American themed main villains, Zedd definitely, to me, has the best design. And honestly, he might probably in the running for top villain design in all of Power Rangers, even if you count the ones that originated from Japan. I just love the fact that he's pretty much just a human who lost all of his skin, and you can see his brain, and he has that cool visor. I mean, everything about him just screams terrifying, dangerous, powerful. And in Heroes of the Grid, that is definitely reflected, because I believe. See, I don't want to say that Zedd is outright more powerful than Rita in terms of the damage he does. Just to kind of preview what I'm going to be talking about, he definitely seems like he does more damage in general, but he doesn't have as many tricky cards as Rita does. And you'll see as I go through his deck, he's definitely more of a powerhouse in terms of just pure. He does more pure damage to the Rangers than Rita. So let's just jump right in. The first card in his deck is Inferno. It's a 5 health card with the guard keyword. Its ability says deal 5 damage to each ranger. So this is an example of, kind of like I said, he's just, in terms of pure strength, he just beats Rita because she had her Chain Lightning, which was a fast card that only dealt 4 damage. Inferno is a guard card that deals 5 damage to each ranger. So thankfully, while this card is most likely not going to come out first, it's still going to be doing more damage to every ranger that's involved in the battle. So you definitely want to get rid of it as soon as you can. And since it is a guard keyword, you're almost forced to take care of it first. And I think this is probably one of the weaker cards in his deck. But, I mean, it just depends on how you look at it. It depends on the situation you're in. This card could be very dangerous if you come across it in the second phase of the second battle you engage with. But let's move on to his second card, which is going to be Z Lightning. It's a 5 health card with no keywords, and it's actually pretty rare for boss cards to not have any keywords. So, but the reason why is because it deals 12 damage divided among the rangers as they choose. So this card becomes less dangerous the more rangers you have in a battle. You're playing with 5 rangers. You could have, let's say, 4 rangers take 2 damage each, so that's 8 damage, and then one final ranger takes the 4. So let's say you had Billy. He uses Triceratops to give himself a couple extra cards on his deck. You could have him take the final 4 damage. And maybe he can use his star abilities to give yourself some energy, do some poke damage against Zedd, his Z Lightning card here, maybe. Or let's say that there's a ranger who's going to, who's going to lose. He doesn't have enough. He only has like maybe 1 shield left in his deck. He knows that's what it is, so he just says, "I'll take all the damage." He'll take all 12. So all gets sent to him. He's defeated, but the rest of the rangers don't have to take anything. So honestly, this card might actually be the least dangerous in his deck, but again, it really depends on how many rangers are in the fight. The fewer rangers you have, the more damage each one's going to have to take, even if you do divide it evenly. But even with 3 rangers, you could say each one only takes 4 damage. So that's 1 card from your deck, possibly 2. The next card is going to be Cruel Strike. It's a 4 health card with the fast keyword. Its ability says 1 ranger must discard the top 3 cards of their deck. So this is one of Zedd's cards that isn't strong out in terms of outright numbers, because it doesn't actually do any damage to the rangers, to any rangers, but the problem is that they automatically lose 3 cards from their deck. So while Z Lightning and Inferno, you might be able to shield your way to only lose maybe a couple cards in your deck, this one doesn't matter. You have to discard, 1 ranger has to discard the top 3 cards. Thankfully it's only 1 ranger, but it is a fast keyword. It does have the fast keyword, and so it's most likely going to be going off either first or second. I mean, losing 3 cards it doesn't matter how many cards you have in your deck, losing 3 cards is terrible. It's kind of funny that they show Zach getting hit in this picture, because I think, let's say if Zach didn't have any cards in his discard pile, then he would be the one you'd want to take the attack, because he could discard 3 cards from his top of his deck, and then he only needs 1 more so he could play his Mammoth Slam, which gives him an extra 1 or 2 dice if he has 4 cards in his deck, or 4 or more. I forget which one, but at least he has to have at least 4 cards in his deck. So you can use this strategically, or let's say if you want, again, you could use Billy to give one ranger 2 cards to the top of their deck. So they have, and it could be any 2 cards. You can just say, oh, I don't mind losing these again. So they just get sent to the discard pile. So just so you can ease the burden a little bit on this one. So there are ways to work around this, but it's still a very devastating card. And thankfully, it's only one ranger that has to do it. Otherwise, it'd be way too powerful. But moving on. Next is Darkness Burst, a 7 health card with the fast keyword. Its ability says deal damage to each ranger equal to the number of cards in their hand. So if this card comes during the second battle against Zedd, it's probably not going to be quite as dangerous because you're already drained of some resources. You're probably not going to want to draw to your full hand, so you have a couple of cards left in your deck to defend with. But let's say if it's the first fight, most rangers are probably going to have 4 or 5 cards in their hand to fight against Zedd. So you're going to be taking that much damage. And it's a fast card, so it's probably going to activate either first or second. And naturally, the reason why is that way it is going to deal the most damage if it comes out first, because that's when the Rangers have the most cards in their hand. So dangerous card, and it has 7 health, so you're probably not going to get rid of it before it goes off, unless you're very efficient or lucky to roll high numbers. And I'm not exactly sure what he's crushing in the picture. His final unique card is Aura of Doom. It's a 6 health card with the passive keyword. Its ability says, while this card is in play, each time a ranger plays a card with an energy cost greater than 0, deal 2 damage to that ranger after the card resolves. Well, okay, so this card can be very dangerous because it has 6 health. So if you're playing just cards with a 0 cost, you're probably not going to be taking this card out. It's probably going to take you 2 or 3 attacks to be able to take this one out. But I mean, even if you do attack with a card that's greater than 0, you're only taking 2 damage after the card resolves. So, and let me also note that even if you do defeat Aura of Doom with, let's say, the first card, let's say you played a power weapon, you got really lucky, were able to take out Aura of Doom with 1 attack, you're still going to take the 2 damage after the card resolves because it was active before you defeated it. So, yeah, you'll still take that 2 damage, but thankfully it's only 2 damage. So if you have a 3 shield card in your deck, if that's all you have, you can just keep attacking this and then it'll just keep going to the bottom of your deck. So it's not the most dangerous card, but it can really whittle your deck down, because with Zedd you want to have as many cards as you can in case you get that cruel strike. I mean, if you get that cruel strike card, you have to discard 3 cards. You want to have as many cards in your deck as you can, because like I said, he does a lot of just pure damage to rangers. But on a side note, I really love the design of this card. This is one of my favorite designs in the entire game, because I think it just captures Zedd's menace perfectly. And I love the fact that his staff in snake form is right there with him. But yeah, this is just an awesome design. I wish I could see the whole picture. It's probably taken from the comics, but I could be wrong. If not, then I really hope they release, since the game is going to be ending, I really hope that they release the artwork design, the concept art the templates that they use for these designs. That way we can just see the full art that they get to work with. But yeah, those are all of Zedd's unique cards. Like all monsters and bosses, Zedd has 8 cards in his deck total, and that deck consists of 2 copies of Cruel Strike, 2 copies of Inferno, 2 copies of Z Lightning, 1 copy of Darkness Burst, and 1 copy of Aura of Doom. Zedd came in the Kickstarter exclusive box, which launched alongside the base game. So, in that sense, thankfully they didn't quote-unquote power creep Rita. Like I said, Zedd is more of a just brute force attacker. Not to say his Cruel Strike and I guess Aura of Doom are kind of sort of tricky cards, but Zedd's whole thing is about just dealing straight up damage to the Rangers, while Rita's a little more tricky. She's going to have you discarding cards from your hand, raising the cost of all your cards with her passive card. So they each have their own strengths. So each of them provides a decent challenge. But yeah, like I said, that's Zedd. Zedd is one of my, like I said, he's my favorite Power Ranger villain in general. I think he's one of the best designed of all Power Ranger villains too. I'm excited to see how Master Zedd turns out with the launch of the final expansion of the game. I still get sad thinking about it. And that is it for Lord Zedd, and that it's also the end of our Monster Mash for this month. Thanks for watching all the monster videos, and I'll be back next time with more Ranger coverage. Next is going to be the Kickstarter exclusive box Rangers, and then the next team will be the RPM Rangers. So look forward to those. I already have most of those recorded. I just need to edit them and upload them, get them scheduled. So thanks for watching. Head on over to onceranger.com and check out the full card database.